Hey guys, welcome to another What If episode, and today we're looking back at one of the biggest 1-2 drafts that we've seen. So basically, Ovechkin went first overall, and Malkin went second. And today we're taking a look. What if it went the other way? What if the Capitals surprised everybody and decided to go with Malkin, and Pittsburgh was left with Ovechkin? So obviously, Crosby and Ovechkin, arguably the best two players playing together. Now I know maybe for chemistry reasons they might not play on the same line, but that would surprise me. Crosby is definitely the best playmaker in the NHL, and Ovechkin is definitely the best sniper or shooter in the NHL. So I feel like Kessel wouldn't play against them because they're trying to get more production from more than one line. Obviously, the only disadvantage for Pittsburgh here is not having a real number two center, as Bonino takes that spot. And I know Brian Rust might end up being that in a few years, but he clearly can't fill that void this year. But still, Ovechkin and Crosby playing together could be absolute dynamite. This could be the best pairing the NHL has ever seen. When you think the duos of playmakers and snipers, this would have the potential to be the best one ever. Obviously, before you guys go and bash me in the comments, I did best lines and just moved Kessel. So the lines are not really up to me here. If you're wondering about the cap, Pittsburgh is only $2.5 million over after I made this move, the cap. So basically, they would just have to move a guy like Hagelin, or I think Bonino was around that 2.5. So moving a guy like that would definitely solve their cap problems. So the only issue that this could have is definitely the chemistry around the team. Um, Crosby and Ovechkin have been rivals ever since they were young. Crosby's been leading Team Canada, and Ovechkin been leading Team Russia since they've been playing in the juniors. So they've been playing against, and they've always been opposed. So maybe them guys playing together would be total chaos in the same locker room. Uh, Currently, that's not what the sim is telling us at Pittsburgh 5-0, and definitely the Penguins would have a chance to be one of the NHL's dynasties. If I honestly think they could be a dynasty, if this would have went their way and they would have gotten Ovechkin instead of Malkin, and not to take anything away from Malkin, he's a terrific player, he's an unbelievably talented guy, but Ovechkin is arguably the best sniper we've seen in this decade. Some might say they prefer Stamkos, but in majority, people can all agree on Ovi. So I'm gonna go ahead, guys, and see you back at. What's up, guys? And the sim is complete, so the Penguins do make the playoffs. That's not saying much since the Carolina Hurricanes also qualified for them. Yeah, get it? EA's logic. I don't understand it anymore. Okay, so 82 points in 80 games for Ovi. That's a good point total, but it's not enough of goals. 32 goals. He hasn't hit that since 2011. Oh, no, actually 2013, which was a lockout season. They only played 48 games and he got as much goals. Crosby got a pretty good season, getting 90 points. So obviously having Ovi and Kessel for him would be a blessing. I think that's what might have hurted Ovechkin a little. Having Kessel to the right, I guess. On D, let's just check Letang's stats. Not a great year for him. 42 points, though not a bad season. I mean, it's pretty consistent from him. Flower went 30 wins, 18 losses, 913, 2.5 goals against average, and 5 shutouts. Not a bad season from Flower also. Let's go ahead and sim the playoffs because that's what's important, right? Let's see what Pittsburgh can go. Obviously, Scranton didn't make the playoffs. That's too bad for Michael Scott and the guys at Thunder Mifflin, but I guess that's it. So we got kind of a rematch of the Pittsburgh Stanley Cup Finals, which was back-to-back against Detroit. So let's see if Pittsburgh comes up victorious. They're down 3-1 after winning the first game in overtime. Clearly not a good scenario here. And they actually come back for 3-2, forcing game 6, and they lose in 6. which is quite a deception. If they would have Ovechkin on their team and lose in the first round, that would be quite deceiving. But what I talked about on the beginning of this video was chemistry, and it looks like EA's really picked up on that and felt like this would not be a great chemistry. The locker room chemistry is at 65. Another thing that could explain that Pittsburgh didn't have such a great season, and obviously I think if this was their scenario where they would have Ovechkin, maybe they wouldn't have a guy like Ornquist. They would have a center, or they might not have a guy like Kessel. They would have a second line center, because clearly Bonino isn't that. And he's a good player. I'm not gonna take anything away from him. He's a really good player, but he's definitely not a second line center. What's kind of surprising here is Ovechkin and Crosby only got 1 point in these playoffs. Um, Hagelin, Bonino, and Ornquist actually got a lot more than them. 1 point for Ovechkin and 1 point for Crosby. That's clearly not enough in the playoffs. In six games, Ovechkin going scoreless. It's not totally impossible, as we saw Tarasenko only scored on Game 7 against San Jose this season in the playoffs. So it's not totally impossible that they would have horrible playoffs. They could be injured or something like that, but it's extremely, extremely unlikely. Um, you know, well, I think if they would have played together, the potential would be way higher than what we've seen in this sim. But if they're just not clicking, they don't have the chemistry. That's about what they'd produce point wise. If you don't look at the playoffs, just look at the season. Definitely think Ovechkin would have gotten way more goals than 32. Playing on that Pittsburgh power play and all that stuff. That's about it, guys. I'd like to thank you all for watching. And if you haven't done it already and you're new, please drop a subscribe and drop in the comments what you think I should do next as a what if, part of this series. Something like what if Tuukka Rask never got traded from Toronto, or something like that. So thanks.